It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Well, Trevor Plouffe Tuesday. Well, Coach Trev in Cabo.
Baseball.
Rocking some tan lines. Little family vacay, or what are we up to here, Coach Trev?
Yeah, family vacay. My Olivia, my wife, has been, saying we need to go, just the four of us, somewhere. So Cabo is so easy for people in California. So we're down here in Cabo. I leave today to go back home. But it's been great, man. Just a lot of quality time at the pool. We did the excursions, ATV riding.
Oh, wow.
Went on a boat, all the good stuff, man. It was fun.
I'd love to see Judd go on a vacation with the Plouffe family and just.
Oh, yeah.
Would you ever go on an ATV excursion, Judd?
No, I wouldn't.
Judd,
I'd stay back and
you can
watch
come. You
TV.
could be like our Manny, come and babysit. Yes, let's do it. I am in.
The Manny.
If the kids
you would
don't,
you just sit in the room with the kids. Perfect.
well, I'd probably take the kids down to the hotel bar / lounge, if that's okay with you.
They would like
and I
that.
just
Get
watch
really
them.
tempted. You can do whatever you want.
Oh
No, he might have them try their first their first Pacifico.
I wouldn't. I would not feed children.
Jeez, Judd.
alcohol.
Maybe not.
No, I wouldn't do that. That's terrible. It's not true, Trev. It's not true.
Okay.
Trevor, what do you know about Rudy York? Oh,
Who's
Rudy
Rudy
York. Rudy York was, let's see here. He played for the 1937 through 1945 Detroit Tigers. Yes, Rudy York, great first baseman for the Detroit Tigers in the 1930s. Also famous for being one of 4 players in Major League history, along with Mark McGwire, Ryan Braun, and now Royce Lewis, to hit 32 homers and 91 RBI in their first 110 career Major League Baseball games.
It's amazing. It's amazing what he's doing. It really is. And that's such a good comparison. I don't know if I've said that before or not. I know I've compared Ryan Braun to someone before. It might have been Royce when he first came up, just because if you guys remember Ryan, who I know very closely, his bat just seemed like it was so long. And in fact, he used a 35-inch bat, which is longer than normal, but it looked even longer than that. And you feel like the plate coverage, and I get the same feeling with Royce when I watch him hit. So it's cool to see them mentioned together in a statistic like that.
Yeah.
Braun was a skinny guy, though, right? He used a long bat, but like Royce now, it doesn't surprise me that Royce generates so much power, because he's turned himself into, he's not fat at all, but he's a stout guy now. He is solid as can be. I don't remember Braun being solid.
He was pretty solid too. He had big old legs. The legs were very, very strong for Ryan. And I know you can insert your jokes here and there, whatever, but he was a very strong guy. I worked out with him in the off season, saw all the weight that he put up. So he was strong, and he just knew how to use his body efficiently, and in a way that I think Royce does as well.
Yeah, he mentioned yesterday in postgame, I was in the locker room, so he hits this bomb, but he also broke his bat. He broke his last favorite Louisville-specific bat, and he was out of that bat now. And Salvador Perez was like, "Hey, dude, I think you're going to be okay." And the dude hits a home run. Royce Lewis just hits a home run. So I don't think it matters what bat this guy uses. He wants a specific bat.
So he hit a home run without his specific bat? That's what happened?
Yes.
Well, no, he's got 7 different models that he uses.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't have a lot of them, because he's got so many different models. I'm sure he only gets 2 or 3 of each model there. But Louisville, I'm sure, can produce some bats. Okay, they can get you some, Royce.
That was one of the great bat flip celebrations, I feel like, of the season. So he kind of goes over to the left-handed batter's box, does the lean, and then he kind of flipped it behind him. The mechanics on
I feel like I played in the wrong era. I would have loved to. I would have loved to shown some pictures up. I would have loved. There's so many guys who I just hated, and if I hit a home run off you, it'd be so fun to take my time and to throw my bat, to point to my guys, and it just wasn't. You just couldn't do it back in the day, man.
Back in Rudy York's day, I feel like, first of all, they didn't wear helmets. Yeah, you just get
right in the head.
You get one of those 81-mile-an-hour fastballs from 1937 right at your temple.
Me and Rudy York, same playing experience right there. Yep. Baseball didn't change for hundreds of years, not hundreds,
no, pretty much hundreds.
Years.
It felt like hundreds.
And pitchers, it's like pitcher sensitivity. I'm glad that we're making baseball fun here. I'm Team Trev on this. It's like, okay, pitchers. So you generally win the interaction 75% of the time, and then the 25% that And by the way, like a home run is only a fraction of a percentage of the wins. Let me have this. Well, you're going to strike me out 3 times the rest of the game. Let me have this. And then they get mad, and their reaction is to get mad and then throw a rock 90 miles an hour at somebody else.
Don't get me started on this. Don't get me started. We can do a whole show about my disdain for the starting pitcher, like, protection, and it's just everything from all the. I've said this before, and this is true. If you can find like a what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Unwritten rule. If you can find an unwritten rule that favors a batter, let me know. There aren't any. They all favor the pitchers.
Well, and then last night, so Pablo, he's trying to go in on Witt, and he hits him up in the shoulders, a little high up, but you could tell immediately he's just he rolls his eyes, he's kind of upset, and he's trying to look over at Bobby Witt on first base, and Bobby Witt's not having it, not looking over. And I'm not ripping Justin Morneau, but Justin Morneau and Royce Smalley spent the next 5 minutes talking about, well, Kansas City might feel the need, and then they show Byron Buxton. Buxton's coming up next. Yep. It's like, why does there have to be retaliation?
Doesn't have to be anything. Again, it's like, down, and then right? if you're Buxton, you're like, what the? Why me? What's up with that, dude?
That's gone down. Correct. It feels like we do get like announcers and old school players still discuss that. It feels like we don't, unless it's done obviously on purpose. It feels like the retribution is not nearly, because it used to be, you hit my guy, I'm going to hit yours, and I don't care if it was.
It's still here. I think it's still here. I think you're right. Maybe it's gone down a little bit, but it's definitely still here. Especially if it's a guy like Bobby Witt, who's been on fire, who's clearly the leader of that team, and it's up and in. Like I still think it's part of the game. I still think it's very silly. Now, again, if a guy does it and you can tell it's on purpose, and there is a certain feel to the game that you can you understand that it was on purpose, then I think there still is a little place for having your teammates back if you're a pitcher. But again, it's always just like some innocent hitter that gets hurt. It's like, we didn't do anything. What?
Right.
Why me?
Were you there when was it in Detroit?
Delman.
And Delman Young got Young got plunked because Mahares stirred things up, and Delman turns to the Twins dugout.
Yep.
Were you in there?
We were telling that story in Cooperstown. I wasn't there, but we were telling that story in Cooperstown with Punto and Guerrier and Dunsing and stuff. That's an all-time story. That's a good one.
Yeah, Delman, this is like 2010 or 11 or something, and Mahares plunked somebody, and then Delman came up and had to wear it on behalf of the Twins, and instead of getting mad at the Tigers, he turns over to find Mahares in the Twins dugout, and he's like, see what you
Well, Gardy stopped Mahares from going into the clubhouse and said, you're going to sit here and you're going to watch what happens. Wow. So he made Mahares sit out there because he knew someone was going to get hit. So he made him sit out there and watch. Yeah, it's
interesting.
Game's changed a little bit, guys. Game's changed. I mean, I don't want to be like the old school guy. I really don't, because I want people in the game. Like even the sliding into second base.
Oh
God. Guys don't even slide anymore. They just stop. And you can still slide into the base. It's still an okay play to slide into the base, disrupt some timing or something, and that's just completely gone from the game. And again, I don't want any injuries. I'm not an injury guy.
But do you remember we used to talk about, hey, the transition to second base is not, it looks like this simple position, but turning the double play is a real art form because of how the guy comes in. Well, the art form
that's why it's changed. It's changed completely because of that rule. It's protecting them. Now it's second base. There's still a few things going against the grain in some of the turns, but as far as your footwork and not getting absolutely blown up at second base, I mean, that's kind of gone. That was one of the scarier plays in all of baseball was if you put a guy over there that didn't know how to soften his legs, didn't know how to fall forward. I mean, there's, ACL's going to be snapped. I mean, it was intense for quite some time now.
And then to take it back in the day even further again, there's legendary stories, and I don't know how true they are, about Ty Cobb used to go spikes up when spiking was a thing, and he'd sit on the top of the dugout step before the game, sharpening his metal cleats and staring down the opposing players during infield drills. Man,
It was part of the game, and you know what? Again, it's. I think the game's better off when all the good players are on the field. So like I am opposed to. I don't want to see guys getting trucked at home plate necessarily. I don't want to see guys getting just crazy late slides in the second base because it does. I mean, it's you can get very, very injured on plays like that. But there is. I feel like a lot of people miss some of the aggressiveness of baseball.
For sure. Who are some of the pitchers that Trevor Plouffe in his playing days like to take deep, or had a little bit more grip in the bat, and you were really excited to square up against?
Oh, I have one guy in particular. I think I've mentioned his name now before. He was a Kansas City Royal pitcher, and they were in town, and they had some like team kind of like get together at 7 downtown rooftop bar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was friends with Moustakis from LA. And so he said, hey, come on over, man. So I had Olivia with me. I think we had some sort of team function that night. So we showed up there, and one of the pitchers, starters, was talking about how he had owned me, like in front of Olivia. He's like, I owned your husband. Like, this is his numbers against me. He was like drunk. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Was it Bruce Chen?
It was not Bruce Chen, because Bruce Chen was like, he knew the business. But this guy did own me. He had owned me throughout my career. And then he said that and like brought it up in front of Olivia. And I was just like, all right, man, I don't like that, The next day, I had a 3-run homer off him. And that one I did. I took a little bit of time around the bases right there. So I think it's mainly like those guys or the guys that I don't really have anyone else in particular that I can really think of off the top of my head. But the guys that were very, what's the word I'm looking for? Shoot. They would yell after strikeouts. They would get so pumped up. But if you did anything, they get mad. I'm like, dude, what? Look at you can have emotion, but we can't have emotion. You wanted to take those guys deep.
Yeah.
Would point at the guy. He'd strike him out, and then he'd point at him.
It's great.
Those are the guys you want to take up top.
In other sports, it's hilarious. Now I'm going to get Trev started here, but in other sports, like in football, you intercept a pass and the whole defense runs down to the end zone and does like a photograph, like a pose. In the NBA, you'll posterize somebody and then like step over them and thump your chest, and it's just game on. In baseball, I'm going to get mad and throw a rock at your shoulder.
That's just pitchers, dude. Don't put that on all baseball. That's just pitchers.
I know. It is.
Position players want to have fun, bro. Position players are out there grinding every single day. It's daunting. You lose more than you win, but we're the ones that want to have fun. It's just the pitchers, dude. Don't lump us all together.
One of the great tussles was when it was Glenn Perkins and Josh Donaldson before Josh Donaldson became a Twin a few years later. And Donaldson,
I was there for that.
So you were with the Twins for that, right? He pimped that foul ball, and then Glenn struck him out on the next pitch and basically said, like, I don't know. He started.
We had a lot of fun with that. I have a picture. I bet I could pull it up on my phone, but I have a picture. It's me. I'm in front with my hand on Donaldson's chest. Dozier's right behind me, and then Pelfrey is right behind him, and we're like all yelling. And Glenn's in the background, kind of like walking away. So we actually, and I love Glenn. We the next day printed out all the still shots of Glenn walking away while we were all there in the scuffle, and put them all over the clubhouse.
Classic. I feel like that's classic Perk though. Like start a fight verbally, but then kind of move out of the way and let the 6'7" elf step in.
You hit 3 career home runs against Bruce Chen.
Yeah,
you own Bruce Chen
and Corey Kluber.
Yeah, that's
Corey Kluber.
3 against Corey Kluber. Yeah, those were kind of lucky. I feel like Bruce Chen, I loved. He always tried to come inside with his little curveball, little cutter thing, but he didn't throw that hard. So I like that.
Little smoke and mirrors.
The guy's name was Aaron Crow, I believe. What's his name?
Aaron Crow.
Looking this up, it was.
Yeah, I was trying to find out who.
August 18th, 2014. God bless Baseball Reference for finding exact home run totals.
You can't lie anymore. Dude, this is how Joe Morgan's broadcast career came to an end on Sunday Night Baseball. He started telling these stories, and then people started looking up on Baseball Reference like, no, that never happened. Oh, yeah. That's old Joe Morgan.
My whole life has been on the internet, and like you can't lie, and you can't even make one mistake. You can't say anything. You just got to like watch out, watch yourself.
I'll get you every time. I'll get you every time. Hey, what was your disappointment or not So the Twins win the 2 games on Friday, Cleveland. So you're thinking 3 of 4, right? You're thinking they're probably not going to sweep all 4, but a real opportunity for 3 of 4, and then Cleveland comes back and wins on Saturday in a game in which Sim pitched really well, but the Twins couldn't get key hits, and then on Sunday in that marathon game.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously tough when you take the first 2 games and the way that they did, like Wallner hitting that 3-0 pitch was so awesome. You felt like the momentum completely shifting to the Twins for like the rest of the season. But this is what Cleveland's done, all year long. They do hit with runners in scoring position. They do get the big hit. They'll figure out the pitching. The bullpen's been good. I think the last game when you have bases loaded, nobody out, top of the lineup up, and you're down 2. All I kept saying was, get Royce up there. Get Royce up there. I want to see that matchup. And Willie strikes out. Great at bat by Willie there, but 3-2 pitch by Clase was just absolute filth. Really nothing you can do there. Like, he had to foul that pitch off or whatever. And I remember thinking, like, Larnach, just don't hit into a double play. Just don't. Come on, man. And he did. So I think that was the biggest disappointment, was not being able to see that matchup. But if you would have won the last 2 games, you're happy with the split. But because you won the first 2 on Friday, I think it feels a little down there. But Cleveland's a good team, man. They're a solid baseball team that knows how to win games. It's kind of like what they do.
Their at bats are super impressive.
Yes.
Like, they foul, Dex and I were sitting by each other in the press box on Sunday, Trev, and they foul everything off. They extended bats. I mean, Festa's pitch count jumped solely based on that.
Yes.
But I mean, that's not a great baseball team, but my opinion is that's a very professional baseball team.
Yep. And they fundamentally do things correctly. And I think Vogt has them believing in that style of play, which is cool. Like, I think sometimes you have to create an identity for your team. Like, he obviously he's not going to go in there and say, hey, we're going to 3-run homer these teams to death, or they didn't even have the starting pitching like they usually do. So they can't really say that. He's saying, let's score first. Let's grind at bats. Let's get the game to our bullpen with the lead. No matter if it's a 1-run lead or whatever, like, let's just get it to the back end, because they've, and they've faltered a little bit because they've been overused. I think they have like 5 or 6 guys with over 50 innings pitched. Like, they've been getting crushed there. But I think that if they're able to rest the bullpen guys and have them fresh for the playoffs, they have a recipe for success. Even though I always say that, I'm like, hey, this team, man, they can manufacture runs, but it hasn't historically the team that just hits more home runs wins in the postseason.
Typically, yeah.
So who knows, man?
Yeah, I mean, and Clase pitched again yesterday for the Guards, and they went over the Cubs. So he's pitched 3 straight games. Wow. And as much as relievers don't get credit for Cy Young, like, Emmanuel Clase 100% deserve. He's allowed, I looked this up yesterday, he's allowed 4 earned runs all season. 4. And he pitches all the time, man. He's having, and he's not even striking guys out like at this crazy rate. He just induces insanely weak contact. He's impossible to square up. It's pretty nuts.
I don't think he's ever been a strikeout guy, which is crazy with his stuff that he has.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's just the soft contact. I mean, I guess that's how you can pitch.
102 mile an hour cutter is insane, which is what Willie struck out on in that sun. Like, that, good luck, man. It doesn't matter who you're facing. It's insane.
And that's a real, like, cutter. That's not just like a little baby cut. That thing was moving 6 inches, like,
a lot of movement. On the Royals front too, and Rocco talked about this pregame yesterday. I mean, yeah, Bobby Witt's probably one of the MVP favorites, but that team overnight has essentially kind of become a lot more like the Guardians, where they can manufacture at bats. They kind of had Pablo on the ropes early on. It might have been another ugly start for Pablo, who rebounded pretty nicely, and the Twins obviously put up a crooked number and win that ball game. But I learned some crazy things about Pablo yesterday, because he mentioned how, obviously there's so much data now. There's so much visualizations that they can give pitchers going into their starts, even with the starts. But he mentioned some of, like, these mental exercises that he does, Pablo. And I asked him after the press conference, like, what are some of those mental exercises? And he brings up breathing. So Pablo told me, like, breathing as human beings is the thing we're doing the most, which is like, you don't think about it, but it is. It's the thing we are doing the absolute
Like
most. Yeah. And he does like meditations, even like between innings and pitches. Like he tries to remain calm. He tries to remain really centered. And like I talked to Rocco and Jeffers about it too. And they said the way he prepares for games and ways all this information is being flooded at them, right? All these pitchers still get the same info, but the questions and the things that he asks and the things that he tries to learn separate himself. And it's why there is still a lot of trust in him, even with this weird kind of roller coaster season he's having. The way he mentally prepares for the game is completely different than basically anyone else on that staff.
Yeah, no, I mean he's really fun to watch. I love that quote. We breathe more than anything else. Yeah, we're constantly breathing. That makes a lot of sense when you really break it down. So you should really practice it. I had a discussion about that yesterday. We were on the boat. I was talking to this guy who was a free diver. He was talking about how much you can actually train your lungs, and most people really never do that. I mean, not even once in their life think about training your lungs, which are a muscle, and I love that. I don't know what he does to get, in that good headspace, but he does. I mean, how many times do you see Pablo Lopez get like visibly frustrated or, get off of his mark? Like mentally, he's always there. Mechanically, maybe there's some things going wrong. But to be able to do that, I think is a plus. And when I played really wasn't a thing. At the end, we had kind of a head doctor, I guess you'd call him. He had a different term. I forget what he used to use. I wasn't a sports psychologist. It was something different. But I wish I would have taken advantage of that more, because you can go into dark places, especially as a hitter, when you're failing so much. But I don't know. That seems like a very smart thing to do. It seems like more people should probably take that approach, to better even non-baseball players. Breathing and mentally training is something that we all should probably take into consideration.
Well, the pitcher who's going to start for the Twins tonight may want to take a couple extra deep breaths, making his major league debut. We have to talk about him in a second. Actually, if Zebby Matthews is looking for just a short-term stay in the Twin Cities, Declan, maybe Element Hotel is where he could post up for the night.
Yeah, we talked to him yesterday, and the poor guy, obviously from Cedar Rapids to AA to AAA. The dude's been living all over the dang place basically over the last 4 or 5 months, all over the country. And yeah, if he needs this spot, I maybe just go to the Element Hotel. Trev's been there. It's a great hotel.
Beautiful.
Great spot. Steps away from Target Field. In fact, if you're anyone coming into town, whether you're Zebby or the parents, who I'm sure he's going to have a ton of crowd at the game on Tuesday, and you want to watch him pitch again, go to the Element Hotel. You can go to scorenorth.com/element for 15% off your booking. That's scorenorth.com/element for 15% off.
We're also giving away right now a 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV that automatically adjusts color and sharpness for your shows, movies, or sporting events.
Baseball.
On the SKOR North app right now. SKOR North app, it's a central hub for everything we do across all of our podcasts. And this 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV has nearly an $1,800 value. We're giving it away this month. SKOR North app, there's a listener rewards section. You can check it out. So, yeah, I mean, can you just put into context, Trevor, Zebie Matthews started the season high A ball, and he has climbed to AA, AAA, and he was in high A ball like in May still or April. So, and now he's pitching in a major league rotation, pennant race, full effect, everything. I mean, that's a huge jump.
I can't really put it into words. I mean, I never experienced anything like that in my career, but I think for him, it's got to feel good. It's got to feel good knowing that, you put the work in, you had success, and because of that success, you moved up. A lot of times, I mean, a lot more often than what he's gone through, guys kind of get stuck at these locations, and you have to go full year there, even though you're, dominating the league. So I think he's got to feel, lucky and happy about the situation that he's in. But then again, yeah, it becomes daunting because, A ball to AA, okay, a little scary. AA to AAA, okay, a little scary. AAA to the big leagues everyone talks about what's the biggest jump. I mean, it's no question. It's AAA to the big leagues or any other minor league to the big leagues. It's just a completely different type of atmosphere, mental space. Initially, the game is different. It's just so fast. Then you figure that out, that it is the same game. There's just a lot of external factors that come at you that you never have to deal with in the minor leagues. You never have to worry about getting blown up in, a week or a bad start being on ESPN or MLB Network. You never have to worry about that. But in the big leagues, you could be, front of the newspaper if you give up 10 runs. You know what I mean? So like there's all these things, the added pressures that come with it. But again, I think if you're Zebby, who I don't know a ton about, I'll be honest with people. I don't know his pitch repertoire. I'm going to have to learn it, obviously. I'll watch him pitch and see all that. But if you're him, I think you just got to feel grateful for the opportunity, and you're going to feel a little scared.
Trevor's like,
no other way
Zebby,
around it.
I don't know much about you, Zebby. I would have traded you for Jack Flaherty, but good luck tonight. Would have been.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I'm not a prospect guy. I always said that I can't lie and act like I know all the prospects that are coming up. But I'll tell you this, he's going to be nervous. That's how it is.
What's your opinion about, Trev, how much and I think it's probably for the rest of the season, the loss of Joe Ryan impacts this whole thing? Because, you've gone from, if Pablo's pitching well, Bailey's been fantastic. And yes. Joe can be up and down, but Joe is still a reliable major league pitcher. Correa's still out. Like what's your handicapping of the Twins situation given what they're dealing with?
If I'm being truthful, it's not great. I mean, you have to really rely on now Pablo pitching like an ace the rest of the way. Like he has to be that. He can't be a 4-3 guy. And again, I think 4 out of the last 5 starts have been really good. Like he's got to be special for the Twins, and Bailey has to continue to do what he's done. If those two guys are pitching to their fullest ability and capability, then you feel a little bit better about having Sim and Festa and now Zebby at the back of your rotation. You feel a little bit better about that, but still, you're talking about 3 guys who are rookies going into a pennant race, going into the playoffs. I think it's not an ideal situation to have. So yeah, look, Carlos has got to be back. We got to have Carlos, Buck, and Royce in the lineup all together, and Wallner and everyone banging. They got to offensively. You have to be perfect. I think that's the main takeaway now. There's no room for error for the Twins anymore. When you're running out Pablo, Bailey, and then 3 rookies, did you see who they worked out a couple days ago? Big Rich Hill.
Yeah. 44 years old.
I wouldn't hate it. I don't
hate it.
I think I don't know if he is the stability, but you need some stability. You need a little bit more depth for sure.
Just make sure that the boom mics are working for Rich Hill, so that we at home can absorb every F-bomb, every swear word.
The only good thing about baseball pandemic in that empty stadium was us being socially distanced, but hearing every single word that Rich Hill would bite. God. Just every word, every 7 dirty bad word was used in that. I also heard he did not necessarily have the best time with Wes Johnson. Rich Hill did.
Well, that's solved now.
Yeah,
right?
And that part is solved, and he's very good. He's still close with a lot of other people in the organization. So I could see it. It could make sense.
Sure would have been nice to go out and get a pitcher at the deadline, right?
That would have been cool too.
Been nice to do that.
I know what you're talking about.
Probably something that
I never brought that up. I never said that
right now. I think enough time has passed now where I can probably bring this up. But going back to Ryan Braun, he was contemplating possibly coming back for the Brew Crew, and because he's a free agent, he could do it. And as long as he was on the roster before August 31st, he can be in the playoffs.
Yep.
Wow.
So he was kicking that around a little bit. As soon as Yelich went out, I think he went to go get his name in the Ring of Fame or whatever they call it there in Milwaukee. They retired his number, but he was thinking about possibly putting the spikes back on, being a DH. I'm like, hey, man, I told him to do it. Like, why not?
How old is he now? 30. Season is 30 still?
I think he just turned 40.
40? Okay.
He's like 40, he's maybe turning 41. Yeah, I went to his 40th birthday party in October of last year. We were in Mexico.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got naked and went skinny dipping.
Oh,
all right.
True
just
story,
a classic Trevor Plouffe vacation.
Yeah. That's what I always do.
It's his thing. It's his thing.
I think actually he started it. He went in, and then one of his like buddies from high school went in and said, "Oh, I'll do it. Everyone's gonna go skinny dipping," and ended up just being us three. So
We're going through the quad. We're running through.
and everybody else
We're
is
going
just watching
striking.
us. And I came back, no towel, and here I am. You know, what are you gonna do?
Yes. And that's why we have to let you go now, because you have to do your Cabo streak before hopping on the plane.
Let's go Twins. Isn't there somebody else we could work out too? There's got to be another pitcher out there. Like,
Well,
who just
I mean,
recently
Judd,
retired.
I will say Judd did ask about Trevor Bauer. Like, is he ever going to pitch in the major leagues again? You think?
No,
It's a
I think there's more. Like, I think Major League Baseball found more than what we've seen publicly, and there's been no inkling that anybody is willing to sign the guy at all. That just means, to me, it means I think there's something more out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not to mention,
Yeah.
it's just a really, really tough PR thing for your organization to handle.
Yeah.
And that clubhouse as well. Like that's the thing is I don't know if you put Trevor Bauer in that clubhouse, how it works. Like they've had
I think
some
a lot of people
problem
think the
children.
exact same thing. Yeah.
Well, and they've had some problem children before, and it's my power of observation. I don't know if Rocco is the best guy to handle a problem child. You know,
can see that.
They had some problems with Donaldson before that year that they brought in Lance Lynn, who was as surly as I am, but he's not as old. And
You need an
know,
established veteran there that can tell these guys to shut up. And
Yeah,
the Twins don't have that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean Correa might be the guy. I don't know, but I just think
You're right. Yes, he could. Yes, you know what? That's my bad. Correa is that guy. So
Yeah.
And you can sign a Rich Hill to also be that guy. You could just have him
You
sort of in
mother-
the corner, grabbing these young players. All right, enjoy the rest of your time there in Cabo. Safe travels back. Great stuff, Coach.
see you
Trev.
guys next week.
See you,
The
Trevor.
SKOR North Twins Show, Trevor Plouffe Tuesdays. Click that like button and the subscribe button on the new SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. See you guys.